There's a version of you that doesn't exist yet, a stranger wearing your face, carrying your name, but unrecognizable, harder, sharper, more alone than you've ever been, and somehow more yourself. New York doesn't ask if you want to meet this person, it just makes the introduction. Most cities let you arrive as you are. New York doesn't. It confronts you before it welcomes you, like a mirror you never asked to look into. The moment you step into the streets, there's something heavy in the air. Not the traffic, not the noise, expectation, the silent pressure of millions of people building themselves in real time. No one is just living here. They are auditioning for the life they want every single day. You feel it before you understand it. The tempo, that invisible escalation inside your chest. The sense that time is sprinting and you're already behind. The city does not wait for you. There is no orientation period, no soft landing. You arrive mid-sentence, already late to a conversation you didn't know you were part of. This isn't hostility, it's gravity. New York pulls you upward or crushes you with the same force. Ambition here isn't a choice, it's the oxygen in the air. You inhale it without realizing, and suddenly the person you were yesterday feels smaller, temporary, incomplete. You begin to sense the gap between who you are and who you could be. And in New York, that gap is not comfortable. It aches. It humiliates you into growth. Because everywhere you look, someone is already fighting for their place in the world. The writer editing a manuscript on the subway at dawn, the chef testing dishes after midnight because good isn't enough here. The actor rehearsing under flickering fluorescent lights because rent is due and dreams don't pay invoices. This city does not clap for effort. It only recognizes arrival. So mediocrity doesn't get judged here. It gets erased, not hated, not mocked, just unseen. You don't stand out by trying. You stand out by surviving. And then anonymity hits you. Not the comfortable anonymity of being unbothered, the existential kind. The kind where nobody knows who you are, and nobody would notice if you vanished. That's when you realize why people break here, not because the city rejects them, but because the city refuses to define them. You are a blank page in a place that demands a headline. In a smaller town, your identity is inherited. Here, it must be built, and that's terrifying. Because if no one assigns you a role, you have to choose one. You don't just live in New York. You negotiate your right to exist here, every morning. New York is a competition you never officially entered. But the moment you arrive, you're already losing to someone. Every audition isn't against a few people, it's against 100. Every job posting draws 1,000 applications. Even finding somewhere to sleep feels like a bidding war for the right to exist. And every social interaction is a quiet ranking system. Who are you? What do you do? What have you achieved? Here, introductions are performance reviews disguised as small talk. The city doesn't test your talent. It tests your threshold for rejection. You get used to no the way other people get used to weather. The casting director who never calls, the investor who disappears mid-sentence, the landlord who had a stronger candidate, the person who ghosts you the second something shinier enters the room. The part that breaks people isn't the rejection itself, it's the indifference behind it. In a small town, being dismissed feels personal. Here, it's ambient, a background radiation. It doesn't even register as an attack, just friction, just another Tuesday, and so you adapt. You learn to pitch yourself in 30 seconds. You learn to walk with purpose because hesitation signals weakness. You stop apologizing for wanting more than survival. The city trains you through shock, the way altitude trains a runner's lungs, incrementally, invisibly, until one day you realize you can breathe air that used to suffocate you. You become harder to rattle, harder to replace, harder to dismiss. Because to stay here, not just to live here, But to remain, you need a kind of self-belief that borders on defiance, not optimism, obstinacy. You don't keep going because it's working. You keep going because surrender would erase you. And the people who eventually rise, they're not the most gifted, not the most connected, often not even the most deserving. They're simply the ones who refuse to leave the ring. But there's a cost. You lose people. Not because you stop caring, but because the city leaves no space for anything unfinished. Friendships that once felt permanent fade quietly. Everyone is busy surviving their own storyline. You can be surrounded by millions and still feel alone. Not because no one is there, but because everyone is in motion. So, you adapt. You learn to eat dinner alone at 10 p.m., to carry your victories and failures in silence, to stop expecting anyone to witness your becoming. And in that loneliness, you start hearing the voice underneath all the noise, the real one. New York strips away what you were performing until only what matters remains. What's left is raw, but honest. And for the first time, it feels like yours. The city doesn't change you, it reveals you. It burns off everything borrowed, leaving only the parts that belong. You stop shrinking, you stop waiting. You move through the world without asking for permission, and people call it change. But it's recognition. They're finally seeing you without the camouflage. You don't realize how much you've transformed until you leave. You return home, and everything feels smaller, familiar, but no longer yours. Not because the place changed, but because you no longer fit back into the version of yourself that lived there. New York didn't just sharpen your ambition, it rewired your threshold for what feels like enough. Comfort stops feeling safe. It feels like a closed door. So, who do you become after surviving New York? Someone who doesn't flinch easily. Someone who knows their worth because they've had to fight for it every single day. Someone who's been alone enough to trust themselves. Someone who's been broken down and rebuilt so many times that they are no longer afraid of the process. You become someone who understands that comfort is the enemy of growth. Someone who knows that the life you want doesn't arrive on a schedule. It gets built, brick by brick, in the margins of exhaustion and doubt. Someone who looks at impossible things and thinks, maybe. New York doesn't give you success. It doesn't promise you happiness. It doesn't even guarantee you'll make it. What it gives you is a mirror. And if you're brave enough to look into it, really look, you'll see the person you were always capable of becoming. The city never asks if you're prepared. It tests whether you'll stay through the discomfort long enough to see who you are when everything else is stripped away. And once you finally know yourself without an audience, there is no version of you left to hide behind.